Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion of the campaign settings of Dungeons & Dragons, starting from those released back in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons up through modern age. We started, of course, with the campaign setting set in space, Spelljammer. Alright, we were talking about just that, space. Well, beyond the normal things I've been talking about with space, now we have to talk about gravity. Because the fact is that every object keeps atmosphere around itself. This is because of gravity. Gravity is also what allows you to stand on a spelljamming ship and not float off. Every object that has gravity does so in the most convenient manner. What does this mean? For something like a planet, it means gravity goes to the center of that planet, to the core of it. For something like a spelljamming ship, which is much smaller, it is a plane of gravity going through the center of it. Well, at a certain point within the ship. This oftentimes means that you could be standing on the top of the ship, and you're just fine, and then you could move on to the bottom hole of the ship, and also be standing there. And your gravity would point down to the ship there also. This also means that if something should fall off the ship, it doesn't just fall into space. It falls into the gravity plane, where it will bob up and down and up and down and up and down for a short while before it will find an equilibrium, and it will stay there. This also means that sometimes an object, when it falls into there, will begin to orbit within that plane. Now, this orbit is usually short-lived because the object will either hit the ship, or it will hit the outer atmospheric bubble, and then it will either then leave the bubble, or it will just stop. And the bobbing will eventually stop too, as the momentum will dissipate. Sometimes it has been known that sailors will trick groundlings with little tricks of this gravity by throwing an object into the gravity plane in such a way that it will whip around the ship, come back the other side, and thwack the guy in the face. So effectively they'll throw something down, it will come up and thwack someone on the other side of the ship, and hey, you just played an interesting trick. Now let's talk about how a ship goes from planet to planet. It requires a helm. A helm is a magical device, a powerful device, which converts raw magic energy to momentum. This allows, of course, for travel between the celestial bodies. It allows travel between the crystal spheres. Any kind of sort of stellar travel that a ship will go on requires a helm, normally. So most ships will have a helm. Now, the exact make and form of this helm usually varies from race to race. But effectively, a mage or a divine caster, basically an arcane caster or divine caster, mage or priest, acts as a living engine, fueling the helm, allowing their magical powers to be converted to the momentum which pushes the ship forward, and also allows it a basic degree of maneuverability with that there. The more powerful the magic that might be fueled into here, the more powerful the momentum. So stronger mages can produce stronger power when it comes to moving throughout space. Now, when we talk about the celestial bodies themselves, they have their own format of how they're going to appear. There are many that are stellar-centric, basically formatting themselves around a central star and orbiting that way. There are some crystal spheres which you'll find the planetary systems are geocentric. Everything revolves around a single planet. There are others that there is no movement whatsoever. Everything just stays in space wherever it is. Some have erratic movements, where the planetoids will just move around in random directions, the stars will do the same, you're never going to know how things are going to end up, it'll just be sort of crazy movement. Voyaging in space will allow you to see many of these different things, and those that voyage in space will also face a number of dangers. They might be exploring lost civilizations for treasure, they might be discovering abandoned asteroids that were once colonies of a spacefaring race. They might deal with space pirates who have their bases off the beaten path of the normal travel that most ships go on. And of course, there are interstellar monsters. There are surprisingly large amounts of creatures that exist in wild space. The sheer fact is, a lot of these things are so large and vast that they can carry a large enough air envelope to sustain themselves for long periods of time out in space, or they can produce their own oxygen deep within their body for whatever process or reason that they have, and either of these ways allows them to effectively survive in wild space on their own. Now, all planetary systems, all celestial bodies, are surrounded by the crystal sphere, the crystal shell, whichever you want to call it. It effectively is separating out the vacuum of your normal wild space, and outside what is beyond that, the phlogiston. Its size is going to be twice as large of a radius as the largest radius of an orbit within the planetary system. So whatever is the most outer point of an orbit within the planetary system there, that planet, twice that is the radius of the crystal sphere. This means that crystal spheres are so gigantic that when you encounter one close up, it effectively is a flat plane. The curvature is so gradual, you will not be able to notice it at close. At farther, if you manage to sort of get a glance of it, then you can get an idea, but you don't normally get that between wild space and the phlogiston. You just don't get that visual cue. Now, it appears to be made of some kind of dark ceramic material of completely unknown origins. Some say that gods created it. Others say that more primal, more powerful beings created it long ago to sort of separate out the gods from the rest of the multiverse, from the phlogiston itself. Whatever this origin, they all appear exactly the same throughout all of known space and beyond as dark crystalline spheres that exist within the phlogiston itself. But that's it for today. I talked about some more aspects of space itself. First, I talked about gravity. Gravity in Spelljammer is convenient. If a body would have all the gravity going towards the center of it, then that's going to way it work. If a gravity plane helps, then that's the way it will work. Whatever is most convenient to whatever form your world, your ship is taking, gravity will take that form. I then, of course, talked about the helm, the main engine of travel between the stars itself, a device of mysterious origin, as most helms are actually supplied by the arcane. Think about that there. We talked about that in a previous episode. The arcane are the one that supply these. But these helms are the magic engines which allow you to go from world to world, from crystal sphere to crystal sphere, and without it, you're probably going very slow and maybe not getting much distance. Though there are ships that exist without helms. But race to race, you will determine what kind of helm, what kind of momentum a ship has. Then I started talking about the crystal spheres themselves. The massive spheres that hold in the planetary systems. Each of these planetary systems has their own way of rotating, moving, if any. And of course, these shells are beyond the most outermost orbits of whatever is there. These shells, which appear almost flat when you get close to them, are of a dark ceramic, almost crystalline material of origins beyond what any of us understand. In the next episode, I will talk a little bit more about crystal shells, and we're going to dive into discussing the phlogiston itself. That rainbow mist that is incredibly flammable, and we will want to talk about it. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave it in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's to support the channel, the empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon. Link description below. I have some great rewards there, and it does help out to grow and support the channel if you really want to. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.